Around 6:30 last night, our department received a call from a female that said that her boyfriend had assaulted her daughter. 16-year-old female was attempted sexually assaulted by her mother's boyfriend. They all lived in the house together. She fought him off, and during the altercation, the boyfriend ended up having a large flashlight, a steel flashlight, and struck the girl a few times in the head and struck her in the forearm. She was trying to defend herself. I believe she has concussion, and she may have a broken forearm, so there was some considerable damage to her. Her 13-year-old brother ended up hearing the altercation, came up, and the two of them were able to fight the adult off. From there, they exited the house, called Mom. Mom arrived home. She was at work, and they called us. We arrived. They were going to be on their way to the hospital via Mom's car. She gave us the keys and told us to enter the house. Had 3 officers enter the house. Once they were on the first floor, they heard a gunshot from the second floor. Not sure if it was directed at them. We haven't had a chance to determine where the round went. But at that point, they retreated to an area in the house where they can view the stairwell where the adult was upstairs, and called for assistance from the CRT team.
At what point this morning was the FBI's team brought in?
The way that works is the CRT, the local CRT, the Mahoning Valley Crisis Response Team, will man it and call for additional resources should it go longer. And they have a very good working relationship with the FBI team, so they were able to form up, and I believe around 5:30, 6 o'clock is when they started making the transition.
At what point did this kind of come to a head this morning? Because I'm guessing you're trying to negotiate with him throughout the night.
We had well over 12 hours of active negotiations between the crisis response team negotiators and the deceased. And he was an active participant in almost the whole 12 hours. There was a short time there where he was not talking, he had to charge his phone, but he was an active participant in the whole thing.
Have we identified the man?
Yes. I think at this point...
Name of the subject?
Okay. Well, we can
Sure.
ask you that in a second. This morning, when it kind of comes to a head, what happened?
Once again, I think that's when I will defer to Special Agent in charge.
Okay. Well, we'll switch here.
Basically, while on the scene, at least 2 gunshots were heard, and there was video of a rifle being thrown out of a window. At what point did this come to a head?
Well, first of all, I want to say thanks to Chief Roddy and the Mahoning Valley Crisis Response Team for everything they did here over the ensuing the last 18 hours. I think it shows incredible skill on behalf of our state and local partners and county partners on what they were able to do to make sure that those negotiations were happening in good faith. And anytime you have a police force with a negotiator that's able to keep a subject discussing things and trying to seek a peaceful resolution shows the skill of the negotiator and the team. So we really thank the chief and his folks for trying to come up with a peaceful resolution. We received a call early this morning. We responded as a result of a fatigued and long-standing situation going on here at the at the residence, and we came out to provide assistance. And I believe we got on the scene somewhere between 5:30 and 6:30 this morning. Negotiations were ongoing. When those negotiations ended in good faith, it appears that the subject, Brandon Schmidt, broke the window out in his residence and pointed his rifle at law enforcement. Obviously, the loss of life under any circumstances is not the desired result, but that unfortunately is what happened this morning.
Did he fire on the local officers or agents?
We don't believe that a shot was fired from the subject. We do know that a shot was fired earlier on in the intervening hours between the time we arrived and when local law enforcement first arrived on the scene. So we know that the subject was in at least a mindset to fire the weapon. So that was, of course, was something that we were concerned about.
And then when you saw the weapon out the window, or the agents or officers saw the window out the window, then
I think as part of our deadly force policy and as a clear and present danger to local law enforcement and to even other civilians in the area, it was incumbent upon us to mitigate the threat. Obviously, we have an ongoing shooting review team that is en route, and so we'll defer a lot of those questions about the actual event until that investigation is completed. But again, just my thanks go out to Chief Roddy for all the work that he did here and with his team and the negotiators to keeping up those negotiations.
do you know anything about Mr. Schmidt? We're hearing stories that perhaps he may have been charged at one point with a local bank robbery.
I think there's a pretty considerable history there, but I'll defer till we get some additional information on the subject. But obviously what led us here this morning was the 911 call and a potential assault that was ongoing when the chief and his team arrived. So obviously that's what led us here, and then of course the ongoing support that we always try to provide to our state and local partners is what resulted in the situation.
Can you talk at all about what I'm going to guess will be a lengthy process of kind of piecing together what happened this morning?
Yeah, so our shooting review team will be here sometime this afternoon, and they'll go over in pretty exhaustive detail the events that occurred from the time of the 911 call to the events that resulted in this morning's death. And that will be exhaustive and detailed, and it will be with the support of our with Chief and the Mahoning County crisis response team.
Can you share anything that he said during the negotiations as to what his state was? We heard reports that he was really concerned about how much trouble he was in, that type of thing.
I don't have any information right now personally. Maybe the chief does, but I know some of those, all of that audio will be turned over to our shooting review team for extensive review and as part of our investigation. So, thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just so you guys do know, he does have a history, so you will be able to find a picture. He's on the brand.
Can you talk at all about who this gentleman was, if you'd had any prior run-ins with him prior to last night?
Yes, we have had a few run-ins. In 2017, he was arrested for domestic violence and pled guilty. I believe last year we had a criminal damaging report, and I don't remember exactly what the instance was. And I believe last summer he was on his porch waving a samurai sword. So we were aware of him, nothing to this extreme though, but we have had dealings with him in the past.
But it's easy to say that when your officers got here, you knew who this guy was. He was
Yes,
a known commodity.
yes,
Were there
absolutely.
any other weapons taken from the house?
As of yet, we are not processing it. The FBI is processing the crime scene. We were told by his girlfriend that he had one gun, which is what he used, and some knives and possibly some Chinese throwing stars. So there were things that you can consider as weapons.
Your officers, and Special Agent Smith said this a little bit, but the fact that your officers were here all night, the task forces were here all night, just how, that these guys come when they're called and they stay until it's over.
And like I've said, every time that we've had to have this response, the Mahoning Valley Crisis Response Team is invaluable to local law enforcement, whether it's Youngstown or Warren or smaller departments like us and Poland and Niles and Holland. I mean, we all contribute, whether it's monetarily or with personnel, and they're the most amazing group of people, and they stayed here the whole entire night, and they did a fantastic job. So my hat's off to them, and I'll say that to anyone that will listen.
Can you talk at all a little bit about the negotiations back and forth, how he was acting and talking?
I was privy to it because I was in the command center for quite a bit. He didn't seem intoxicated, but I wasn't the one talking to him. He seemed irrational at times. He would answer questions with questions. So the state of mind may be one of panic, but once again, I'm not a professional, so I can't say with true certainty. But he would answer some of their requests with an affirmative response, and then just not do what the requests were. The entire night it was, please put down the gun, leave the gun, and at no point did I think he ever left, that the gun ever left his side.
Did that kind of become a frustration, or that's just kind of the training you just kind of roll with?
The negotiator that worked on this, he was fantastic. He never lost his cool, and he stayed in contact with him almost the whole 12 hours. Like I said, he did a fantastic job.
Was that Chief Julia?
No, his name was Vince, but I don't remember his last name. I think he's from Warren PD. Fantastic job. Kept his calm.
This was all by cell phone, or?
Yes, and at one point his cell phone was running out, and we were able to get him a charging cord, or at least offered him a charging cord, and then he found one.
How long before 5th Street is open and people can return to their homes?
I can't answer that. It all depends on how long it's going to take to process the scene.
All right. Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.